My name is Adrian Nantchev, and this channel is all about helping you become a remarkable entrepreneur. So that's why I started this podcast, Become Remarkable, to bring you people from all over the world, whether entrepreneurs or not, to share with you their story, their journey, their experiences, who they are, and what makes them remarkable. Today I have with me Tryphena Wade, all the way from New York City.
Hello.
So, Tryphena, please tell the world, who are you, what's your story, and why is it you do what you do?
Oh, that's a lot. Okay, well, I'm Tryphena Wade, currently living in New York City. I wear many hats. I am an actor and singer. I also have a travel blog called WeDon'tSitOnCouches.com. I also have a podcast, and the podcast is the We Don't Sit on Couches Experience. And basically, the podcast is a way for me to kind of bring together two worlds that I love very much: travel and life as a performer, as a professional actor in New York City. So that's what the We Don't Sit on Couches Experience is. And on the show, I have other actors, other performers, other artists, as well as travelers. So those are kind of like the two aims of my podcast. And then I'm also a published author. I recently self-published my first book. It's called The Heart Works, and you can get it on Amazon. I self-published that, which was a serious undertaking. I was not aware of how involved a process it would be when I started. But I recently self-published that book, and it came out in August. And those are kind of like the main things that I do.
That's interesting. I'm not quite sure what background is flashing as well, but your book, this Heart Works, is that non-fiction or fiction?
It is a collection. It's nonfiction. It's a collection of short stories, of journal entries. There are some travel stories in there, personal revelations. So it's just a collection of things that I wrote over the course of several years. And so I would put it in the category of spiritual or self-help because it kind of touches on those personal kind of things. And I started writing the book as kind of like a journaling challenge for myself. I've journaled pretty much all my life, but I decided that at the end of 2014, I was going to take the last 100 days of the year and do a journaling challenge for myself. And the reason I started this challenge was because I realized that I was just really not in a happy place. I just wanted to take the challenge to journal out my feelings and things that I was going through, things that I was experiencing, and hoping that would kind of help me to kind of kickstart my own journey to healing or figuring out why I was not in a happy place.
Yeah, I heard that when you journal your journey and you journal and share or codify your experiences, your stories, what happens and all that, it's a good way of getting your thoughts down to paper.
Exactly.
Expressing your thoughts as well. I had one of those myself I started November 2014, and it didn't last very long because I wasn't really in the habit of every day or every other week just writing things or things like that. So I just couldn't get into it. I had it for like half a year or a year, something like that, and I started to notice that it would be like a year, 8 months and months between every post, and it's like, this is going nowhere. Just going to the grinding stop. But also, I started that like to change like mental state as well, to grow or develop and to change. Go from one emotion to another, and it's like, well, it fulfilled its purpose as well. And now it's just like a little piece of history that will be kept on Dropbox for a long, long time.
Exactly. It's a personal history of yourself when you're journaling, and that's what I found is when I went back to read the journal entries that I had recorded. Originally, I hadn't planned to put it together into a book, but when I went back to read different things, I started to realize that, wow, some things were hard to read because it was like, I remember what I was going through when I wrote the thing. But then also I realized that it could probably help someone. Like, I'm sure I wasn't the only person experiencing a certain emotion or a certain experience, situation with a friend or whatever. And so that's why I decided to kind of put it together into a collection, into a book.
Yeah, interesting you should say that because I'm about to publish my second nonfiction book on
Oh,
marketing
okay.
and content marketing and inbound marketing. And the past like few weeks, I was watching an interview with Ray Dalio. He's a hedge fund manager, I think in New York City. I'm not too sure, but somewhere in the
Okay.
States certainly. And he's published this book recently called Principles, where he's outlined more or less everything he knows in life:
Yeah.
health, wealth, love, and happiness, and the pursuit of happiness. You know, those life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Those kind of like genres and principles.
Right.
And right now, I'm reading through Tim Ferriss's The Tools of Titans book. I'm just like under halfway through that, and I'm
Hmm.
thinking next year of publishing a book very similar to Tools of Titans and Principles, where it's everything that I've learned, like all these journals and all these other stories and everything from the past,
Hmm.
compiling it into like one great big almanac, so to
Yeah.
speak, of stories and experiences and putting it into the world.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. I mean, you would be surprised how many people are having kind of a similar experience, once you decide to put your own story out there. And also, I think it's very empowering. What I found for myself was that when I took the time to, tell what I was feeling, or, I don't necessarily talk about specific situations, but I kind of share certain things in an artistic kind of way. But when you take the time to put your own emotions and your own story out there, you own it. So it's empowering in a way that no one can ever hold it over your head if you have already owned it for yourself. And so, and then there's a certain sort of, I think, freedom that comes from that as well. When you kind of own your own story, you put it out for other people to read or hear, and experience. And you kind of let people know that, yeah, this is what happened to me, or this is what I was feeling. This is the emotion that I was experiencing. And it's a way of connecting with people, because then people realize, hey, I felt that same thing, or I've been through that same thing, and I'm not alone in the world. So it's very empowering to do that.
Oh, definitely. The way I see it is to do your idea justice and
Mhm.
share it with the world.
Yeah.
And also the way I see it is like supply and demand. Everyone's got like a university degree,
Yeah.
but how many people do you know that's written a book? Or how many people do you know that's an author? And it's like, well, you're quite unique, and I think that's a really cool way of standing out from the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're exactly right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
And speaking of experiences and connecting with people, you mentioned a traveling blog
Yes.
and a podcast as well. We don't sit on couches. That's the
Yes.
don't sit on couches experience. Can you tell me about those, please?
Well, the travel blog, We Don't Sit on Couches, I started that when I was on tour. I'm an actor as well, so I was on tour with the Lion King, the Broadway show The Lion King, for close to 6 years. And so I've always loved to travel, and thankfully my career as an actor has always kind of allowed me or made me travel to different places throughout the US and also overseas. And I remember being in Hawaii. The tour was in Hawaii for 2 months, which is like an amazing blessing because most tours don't go to Hawaii. So I remember being there, and I remember thinking about how people would ask me about my travels, and I would share different things, places I had been or different adventures I had had. And people were so excited to hear about my travels and hear about the stories. And I really enjoyed sharing those things with people. I really enjoyed sharing my travels with people. And so I was, in Hawaii at a Volcanoes National Park, and I was just standing over this smoking volcano. And that was the moment I kind of realized that I really wanted to be a travel writer. I wanted to share my stories. And when I say be a travel writer, I don't mean necessarily writing for some huge travel publication. That would be nice, but that wasn't the goal. The goal was just to share my travels and my experiences with people in a way that would encourage them to not just travel, but to also just live life fully. I find that a lot of people are so stuck into a box of what they quote unquote are supposed to do, or places they're supposed to go. And I realized that I have had a lot of experiences in my travels. I've been a lot of places that many people will only ever see like on a screensaver or in a book or on a commercial. And so I wanted to share those things. I wanted to share those experiences with as many people as I could, with whoever wanted to read about those experiences. So that's when I started the blog, and you know, that's WeDon'tSitOnCouches.com. The podcast came a little bit later, because for a long time I was trying to keep my life, I was trying to keep each part of my life separate, the travel part separate from the acting part, and it just wasn't working. I felt like I was splitting myself in two. So I decided I can use this podcast as a way to bring both of those parts of my life together and talk to people from a variety of worlds, all walks of life, people who love to travel, people who enjoy adventure, people who work in the travel industry, as well as performers and other people who are artists. And so that's where kind of both of those things came from.
Yeah, well, I was actually looking forward to this little interview because acting, that was something I wanted to do years ago. Yeah. And I still think that camera's off again, not sure what's going off. I still think that with a little bit of training, a little bit of experience and stuff like that, I'll be quite a good actor. I remember in November 2013 going to the, what's it called, the Star Wars open audition with the new films, the new trilogy, in Bristol. Like one of the first people in the UK to do it.
Wow.
I had no like formal experience at all with acting and things like that, so I just crash coursed dozens and dozens of hours of acting. And the one thing I do remember is there's an interview of Michael Caine saying how to act drunk, and it's like you're not a sober person being drunk. Mm-hmm. You're actually a drunk person trying to be sober. Exactly. So you're doing the normal things that sober people will do, but just not quite right. A bit more slurred, a bit more losing balance and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go this way, over here, that kind of stuff. And that's the only thing I remember about acting. And you know, there's all that drama stuff, production and logistics and all the rest, but I don't know any of that stuff. But it's like with the right bit of tuning, like a bit of training and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd be pretty cool at it, I think. But
maybe you would. I meet so many people who say that. So many people who say, "Oh, I wanted to be an actor," or "I think I'd be really good at it," or I say, "Give it a try. Give it a try. You never know."
It's just priorities. That's all. I want to do a few of the things first, sort some things out, then I want to focus, because I've come to realise, and you might have felt this as well. Focus and discipline are important things, because you don't want to have the acting and the travelling priorities mixed up together, so you end up doing nothing and achieving nothing because you're not focused, not disciplined. So I was looking forward to this, Tryphena.
Yeah.
The singer, though, not really. Although as a side note, I've heard that there's these different strategies for writing songs, like lyrics or rhythms and beats, and different frequencies, like 432 and 440 different hertz. For different kind of music and the different kind of structures and tempo and rhythms and beats that you can like just constantly generate like hits, popular songs.
Absolutely, yeah. You would. I mean, I've watched many videos and short documentaries about how hit songs are kind of always written like in the same key. You have a similar beat. And it's all very true. It's a frequency that the ear enjoys, that you can pick up easily, that you can remember easily. So I'm not in the songwriting realm though at all. I am in, I would love to be. Maybe I should try that. But these days I'm strictly in the singing, and mostly singing for theater. So that's most of what I've done.
Yeah, how is all that going? You mentioned The Lion King and Broadway. How's it all going?
It's going well. I mean, the thing about being an actor and being in this industry is that you're always working, even most of the work is happening when people don't see it or when people don't recognize it. So there's a lot of times you have downtime where you're like, you're going on a lot of auditions, or you're working on something that has not yet been kind of released into the world. And so you do a lot of work behind the scenes for a long time before any of it is seen. And, you have this saying, people say all the time, it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. And it's very, very true. You have a lot of people who are famous now for some film or some TV show or whatever, but you don't realize how long they've been working to get to that point. So for me, it's going well. I'm not currently working on a show. Like I said, I was in The Lion King for close to 6 years. So I did the show on the North American tour, and I also did it on Broadway for a short while. And at this point, I'm working on other shows that hopefully the world will see soon. But, you know, always auditioning, always working on the craft, you know, doing small readings or, you know, short films, different things like that. So it's going pretty well. It's going pretty well. I consider myself very blessed in that I've been able to work pretty consistently for quite some time. So it's a blessing. Yeah.
What got you into like acting and singing?
I just remember being a kid and always wanting to do it. I always wanted to act. I always wanted to perform, you know, to be on stage. My mother had me in dance classes from a very young age. Me and both my sisters, we were, you know, taking dance classes from a very young age. And we also would go to see different shows that would come, you know, to our town. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. So a lot of shows would tour to Columbus. So we would see, you know, different shows. And I just felt like I always knew that it was something that I wanted to do. And I wasn't quite sure exactly what it was. I just knew that when I saw a show on stage or even some TV shows, I just knew that there was a feeling there of like, wow, this is really cool. I think I would really, you know, enjoy this. So it's something I've always wanted to do. So it's nice to be able to finally, like, you know, to be in the world of it and actually be doing it.
Yeah, the way I see it is trying to do creative things, things that will last forever. You know, the books are a good example. You write the book, you print it out, it's online forever. You got the physical copy, it's there forever, and also the experience as well. And I don't know, acting is just a completely different way of making a mark in the world.
Exactly.
I had a quick look through your blog. The traveling one. I saw something briefly about you going between. I saw something about some luggage going astray. A little quick article about that. Mm-hmm. Also, there was an interesting little article where you were on the border between Zimbabwe and Zambia.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? What's the story behind that?
Absolutely. That was an amazing trip. That was last December, and I took a 3-week trip to South Africa. So I started in Cape Town. I then went to Durban. Then I went up to Lesotho, back to Durban, and then I flew to Johannesburg. And from there, I went to Zambia. And the whole reason for going to Zambia and / Zimbabwe was to see Victoria Falls. I had always, you know, since I was a child, I've wanted to see Victoria Falls. And, you know, now today with the rise of social media and everything, I learned about a little spot called Devil's Pool. And what it is, it's a natural pool that's on the Zambia side of Victoria Falls. It's a natural pool. There's a ledge there, all natural, and it's literally on the edge of the falls. So you can kind of take a little swim in the pool and sit on the edge of Victoria Falls. So that was the whole purpose for me going to Zambia, was to experience Devil's Pool. And it was really kind of surreal because I had been watching videos and seeing pictures of other people doing it for the longest time. And for me to finally have the opportunity to do it, just like when I was wading through the water, I'm like, this is not a video. This is actually me. And, you know, I'm actually in this pool. Victoria Falls is right here. I'm sitting on the edge. It was really an amazing experience. And yeah, it was just pretty awesome to be able to have that experience. The water was pretty strong. I mean, I would suggest that if you're going to do it, you be able to handle yourself in the water. You don't necessarily need to be like an Olympic swimmer, but definitely be able to handle yourself in the water. But it was an awesome experience. I loved every second of it.
Devil's Pool does sound familiar because I do remember something about there was this waterfall, and the bottom of the waterfall was a whirlpool. Mm-hmm. And where that whirlpool went to wasn't really known, or how far or how deep it went. That Devil's Pool reminded me of that. Is it the same thing?
I don't know. I'm not sure, because this is at the top of the waterfall where the water actually falls over the edge. So I don't know about the whirlpool. I'm not sure. Yeah, but Devil's Pool isn't really deep. Like you can touch the bottom, and there are a lot of boulders and big rocks in there as well. So it's not like an easy kind of swim. It's, you know, there are definitely boulders and rocks in there, and you go with a guide and they tell you exactly where to step, where to stand, where to move, you know, so that you're safe. So, yeah.
So I'm just very curious then, if people want to start traveling the world,
Mm-hmm.
you know, laptop lifestyle or just traveling in general, taking a year out or whatever the choices are,
Yeah.
what's your advice for them? What's the strategies, ideas, or techniques? Be
Well,
aware of this, or FYI?
Yeah, well, I would say don't be afraid of it, because I find that a lot of people are just scared. You know, and it's understandable. There's a lot going on in the world today, and people are just afraid to move around. And so I would say don't be afraid. I also say do your research, know where you want to go, and do the research. Once you decide where you want to go, do the research on that place so that you know. You kind of want to know what the climate is like at the time, what the political climate is. You also want to know what's happening with the weather, so you don't get caught in some kind of, you know, crazy weather situation. But, you know, do research on the place that you want to go to. And I would say just start planning and also start saving, because I find that where a lot of people get caught up is in the cost, and they feel like, oh, I could never afford to do that. And one of the things that I suggest that people do is have a separate kind of bank account set aside that you just put money in, just put away a little bit of money every week or every 2 weeks or whatever it is, so that when you're ready to go somewhere, when you're ready to start planning your trip, you have some funds saved up so that you're not overwhelmed by the cost, because a lot of times people get overwhelmed by just the sheer cost. Also, in doing the research, I think a lot of people will find that it's not as expensive, or it doesn't have to be as expensive as it may seem. You know, you can do budget travels. There's all kinds of websites where you can find budget accommodations, or, you know, cheaper flights or excursions, or different things that you can do that won't really break your bank. So those are just some things I would say to get started. Is don't be afraid of it. You know, do your research and figure out where you want to go, and, you know, what time of year you want to go, and then start planning and start saving.
2 ideas I've got, just to mix things up a little bit.
Yeah.
To throw it off canter, is go to an airport. Okay, sort the logistics out, the money, the packing, all the rest. Go to an airport and just pick the next flight out.
I know people who have done that. I have not done that yet, but I know people who have done that. Or I know people who will go to the airport with a certain amount of money and say, where can I go for this amount?
Oh, that's a good one as well.
And you just go there.
and another idea that I like the sounds of is take a flight to, say, New York City or Washington, D.C., and that's on a Monday, and your flight is on a Friday in, say, Seattle or L.A., and you got to get across country.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's an idea.
Yeah. Or even just over the course of a month, because I remember reading this like mathematicians have planted or rooted out the perfect road trip around the states, visit all 50 or 48 mainland states. Yeah. And it's like, well, do it on the first of the month, go land, then follow this route around all the states. I've been to a few of them, but not many. Yeah. And just go visit all of them in a month, and then come back in Seattle or something. It's like, I think that is a really cool way of mixing things up.
Yeah, and a cross country road trip is pretty cool. I mean, there are a couple different routes you could take to see different things depending on what you want to see. But that's a really cool idea. But and another thing that I like to do, and this is a way that I've seen some cool places, is a lot of times people avoid long layovers, but I have come to really enjoy a long layover, because you have, first of all, a lot of times those tickets are cheaper if you have a layover of 12 hours or more in a place. Sometimes those tickets are cheaper, but also you get to see a new city really quick, really fast, and then go to your final destination. And that's, I think, a great way to figure out if you want to go back to that place. That's the way I first saw Iceland. I had a long layover in Reykjavik. And I remember flying into the airport. I got in at night, went to my hotel, woke up the next morning. I looked out the window and I was like, I am on Mars. This looks crazy to me. So I knew I had to come back to Iceland. but that was just the layover provided me with enough information to see and know that this was definitely a place I wanted to return to. So I think that's another really cool way of kind of packing your travels in.
That's actually a really good idea, that is.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea. I didn't think of that. Yeah, that's good. I like that a lot, that is.
Yeah. You want to make sure your layover is in a city that is not going to be super boring, but...
Yeah, I was going to say, because it's like you're planning 2 holidays in one. Where are we going to go? Where are we going to stop at?
Yeah, but I've seen a couple places that way, so...
Yeah, let's go to New Zealand via Iceland or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so also I'm just curious, what kind of advice, information, FYI, would you share for people that want to get into acting?
Acting. Well, I would say definitely study the craft. Get books, start reading plays, start, looking at TV shows or films, kind of figure out what kind of acting you want to do. But also, too, I would say don't put yourself in a box and limit yourself to one genre. A lot of times people get caught in, I just want to do theater, or I just want to be on TV, or I just want to be in films. But there are a lot of people, especially nowadays, who go back and forth, hop around to all three. And I think that's a great way to get your acting muscles strong. So definitely do your research, definitely do some reading and figure out where your passion lies. My passion personally lies in theater, but I'm also aware that I want to do TV and film work as well. So that's something that I'm working on. But also too, for young actors, I say, make sure that you explore all of your creativity, explore all of the things that you're passionate about. If you're really good at photography, explore that. If you're really good at writing, explore that. If you're a painter, if you're adventurous, explore all those things, because what it's going to do is it's going to give you something outside of just your acting career to think about and to focus on, so that you're not just having tunnel vision all the time about your acting career. But also too, as an actor, your job is to tell stories, and to tell stories of people who are not like you. And so I think the best way to become a well-rounded person so that you can tell those stories is to explore other things that you are interested in. You never know when you're going to be tapped to play a photographer. So if you have an interest in photography, that's only going to help that. You never know when you're going to be tapped to play, a scuba diver, or, a Navy SEAL or whatever. So if you have other life experiences, those other life experiences are going to inform your acting work. So I think it's important to explore all avenues of your creativity. And you never know what you're going to find. You may find another passion. You may find that you're more passionate about something else other than acting. And I think that's good. I think it helps you become, a well-rounded person.
Yeah, when you said different kinds of acting, I remember there's one called method acting, or Methodist acting.
Yeah,
which Daniel Day-Lewis is one, as well as Benedict Cumberbatch is one, where they inhibit the character and the priorities on life and history and the journey. I think very naive or whatever, inexperienced, but I think it takes a little too far, because I also remember, I can't remember who said it now, Morgan Freeman, that said, the best kind of director is the director that gives you your lines, your starting points, and lets the actor do his work, do the thing.
Let's go. Yeah. Well, I find that, I think those different methods work differently for different people. The method acting, you really have to immerse yourself in the world of the character, and you kind of just stay there. And that can be really exhilarating. Sometimes it can be dangerous depending on the character that you're playing. But yeah, I think it's exhilarating to immerse yourself in someone else's world and kind of become that person. And I think you just kind of have to make sure you know how to pull yourself out of that, so that you don't get lost in something that's not you, so.
I also remember this one called situational or spontaneous acting, where, like for TV shows, like they're doing it behind the... Beg pardon?
Like improvisation?
I think it is, but this is like, here, it must be, or a branch of it, where it's like, here's the situation on a sitcom, for example, or a TV show, or reality TV, but there's some actors in the scene. And there's no real script, but the actors know that we have to get a certain scenario or certain conclusion.
Yeah.
So they can say whatever they want, as long as it's in line with this. I remember that as well.
Yeah, that's fun. And that'll force you to get out of your head and not think so much about what you're doing, because you have to respond honestly to whatever's being thrown at you. And it's interesting that a lot of actors find that really, really difficult, because we're so used to presenting ourselves in a certain way so that we can get the job or whatever. But, you know, when you're thrown into a situation where somebody says, okay, just improv, just do whatever comes to mind, a lot of times people freeze and they're like, what do you mean? You're not going to give me a script? You're not going to give me, you know, the exact words to say or the exact movements to make. So I think all of those different methods are valuable to explore. And again, that goes along with being a well-rounded person and being a well-rounded actor, to be able to kind of put yourself in any situation or any method of acting and just explore it and see how it works for you. Yeah.
As a side note, little silly story. When I was at, I think it was a few years ago in like 2012 or 11.
Okay.
I was at the train station. I'm getting on the train, and I have some mates of mine on there, and they don't see me get onto the train. It's quite packed, so people are stood up, and I'm wearing this long woolen black, like trench coat almost, but it's wool, not leather.
Yeah.
And so I get onto the thing, and then I just spontaneously, like, I don't know, weird or crazy, whatever, just start shouting to them, saying things like, "Oh, you owe me money," pretending to be, I don't know why, just for the fun of it, just the creativity, like puzzling people, like a gangster or something weird, I don't know, something crazy like that. Just to embarrass them, just to puzzle all the people, and like, oh, something's going down here, and it's like, just some crazy stuff every now and then like that, just for the fun of it, So maybe
you would be a good actor. You should explore that.
Just these little funny things. Why not? Let's be crazy for the sake of it. And you also mentioned interest as well, like if you're cast as the scuba diver, for example, or the photographer. There's an interesting concept that's called a Renaissance man, where you know, like a jack of all trades, but master of one, where you know a little bit about everything. Enough about conversational about photography, or enough conversation about swimming and scuba diving, enough conversation about acting. Just enough to just talk, not to be like a dunce, or not to be socially awkward. But not too much so you're an expert or you're professional, or you're stubborn at it, or you're very stuck up about it, but just conversational, so you can talk to everyone, which is a side note I think is very helpful when having a podcast as well. Because, how long are we now? 40 odd minutes in, I won't be able to talk about most of the stuff had I not known all these things or have all these little silly experiences. I think just knowing a little bit about everything, being a jack of all trades but master of one, is very important.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that is very important. And like you said, it's enough to just get you through conversations, and then enough to, you know, I know a little bit about this, but I'm going to learn more from someone who knows more about it. Yeah.
It also helps you to be very curious as well when it comes to things in the world. But Tryphena, as we slowly wrap up this podcast though, what is it you're working on now, and what's next for you?
What am I working on now? Well, since January, I've been working on a new musical. Can't say the name, but I've been working on it up in Canada and also here in New York. And so hoping that will come to Broadway soon. So definitely been working on that. And I also have some other book ideas. So kind of fleshing those out in my mind right now, figuring out when to start, you know, when to release one. So I'm working on that as well. At the moment, like right now, I am working on a book launch party here in New York. So that's going to be on November 4th. So if you have any listeners in New York City, I'm having a book launch party on November 4th, and it's actually a dual kind of thing. A friend of mine is a sommelier, so I'm going to work with her, and we're going to do a book launch as well as a wine tasting event. So I'm working on that, right now, most immediately. And then, always auditioning, always writing. You never know where that's going to lead. Always working on new material and seeing shows and yeah. So I'm immersed in writing and podcasting and acting, and I kind of just have like a lot of things going on right now, just to see what thing is going to take the forefront first. So.
What is a book launch party?
It's just a way of celebrating the book. Obviously, the book has already been released, so it won't be the first time my book is seen. But this will be a way of kind of celebrating the release of the book. And I'll also be reading a few excerpts from the book so people can get an idea of what it is. And then also with my party, everyone will leave with a signed copy of my book. So that's just a way to get it out there more, to celebrate it, to share it with people so that people know, what to expect from it. And then I really enjoy wine. I feel like everything is better with wine. So we're going to have a wine tasting portion as well. So it should be fun.
What's more popular in New York City then, red or white wine?
I think it depends on the season, but I also think we're kind of in a time now where people aren't necessarily saying this is the time for red, this is the time for white, or this is, the kind of meal that you should have with red, this is the kind of meal. People are kind of just drinking whatever, whenever. I mean, the summer season was definitely like a rosé or a blush season. Also white wine because it's cooler, it's hot in New York in the summer, so people want something lighter, something cooler. But in general, I find that people tend to just drink whatever they want to drink whenever they want to drink it, which is kind of how I am. I'll drink red, I'll drink white. I enjoy it all. So, yeah.
But as we wrap up, though, what's the best way for the audience to get in touch with you?
The best way? Well, I have several websites, but you can go to theheartworks.co. That is specifically my book website, but from that website, you'll be able to link to my blog as well as my podcast. My podcast is also on iTunes and Google Play. So if people want to listen to the podcast, they can do that. Just go to iTunes and search for the We Don't Sit on Couches experience. And We Don't Sit on Couches is all one word. So yeah, they can search for me there. Also, if you Google We Don't Sit on Couches, I'm going to pop up. So you'll be able to find me all those ways. And if people want to link with me on social media, they can find me on Twitter at Tryphena Wade. And on Instagram, I'm Tryphena_Wade.
That's cool. I'll include those in the show notes below.
Thank you.
It was great to do on the show, Tryphena.
Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thanks a lot. So, ladies and gentlemen at home, if you haven't already, click on the subscribe button below and press the bell notification right next to it for the latest uploads and podcast episodes. Because this channel is all about helping you become a remarkable entrepreneur. So go out there today and do something remarkable with your life, because that is what it's all about.
Absolutely.
How cool is that?
That's awesome.